Staying away was a harsh blow, but somehow it was necessary. There was no way to see certain things with everything so close. Time separated, but it also revealed. In the silence, awareness spoke louder. What once seemed right wasn't, and what was set aside now weighs heavily. It was during this interval that everything fell into place. Without needing to explain, without needing to justify, what is real doesn't disappear, it just falls silent for a time. Now something is beginning to change, not by choice, but by inevitability. There are signs, there's restlessness, there's presence even in absence. It's no longer about reliving anything, it's about allowing what was left hanging to finally come to fruition. Without rush, without masks. When it's genuine, the path opens up, and it's already opening. Staying away wasn't a choice. It happened like everything does when you're not ready. And even without wanting to, absence imposed itself and did what presence never had the courage to do. It laid the truth bare. Nothing stayed in its place. No detail went unnoticed. Every silence screamed louder than any word could. At first it was just the impact, the break, the attempt to move forward without looking back, the illusion that time would be enough to forget or replace or ignore. But certain presences cannot be replaced and far less erased. Absence didn't come to teach gently. It came to tear down pride, to dismantle certainties, to make clear what had been denied for far too long. There were no explanations. There were no complete goodbyes. All that remained was that space that nothing quite occupied. The hours passed slowly, and deep down there was something that lingered. The feeling that something unfinished still existed. A cycle that didn't close, a bond that, although stretched, never broke. Some connections don't need contact to continue existing. Just remembering, just feeling, just that fragment of time that insists on reappearing in the most unexpected moments. And there, in the midst of routine, commitments, and attempts to forget, the memory surfaces. The memory of something that may have been misunderstood, or maybe it was too strong to hold on to, too fragile to be explained. During the time apart, a lot has changed. The world spun, people came and went, emotions got jumbled, but that remained. Not on the surface, not in the discourse, but deep inside, where nothing lies, where everything echoes even in silence. Time didn't answer all the questions, but it left some impossible to ignore. Why did that leave such a mark? Why does thinking about it still cause this knot in my throat? Why, even after everything, is there still something that pulses? It became clear, even without words, there were mistakes, yes. There were oversights, fears, escapes. But there was also truth, and that doesn't fade away. When you realize the value of something out of reach, clarity is born, and it's uncomfortable. It reveals everything that was wasted, everything that wasn't said, everything that could have been different. Sometimes that dull pain is what it takes to awaken what was numb. It's in the space between one touch and another that you understand the weight of what was lost. The universe has a strange way of organizing things. It destroys to rebuild. It pulls away to reveal. And when you realize this, it's no longer about trying to control, it's just about observing, noticing the signs, accepting that nothing is stationary. Everything is being prepared even if it seems inert. Now something begins to move. It's not anxiety, it's not imagination. It's presence. It's the subtle return of an energy that was never completely gone. It's life hinting that the time of waiting is changing form. It's not about going back to what was. That no longer fits. It's about reclaiming what still lives, what survived the wear, what matured while no one was watching. It's not about starting over from scratch, but about continuing from where you left off, only this time with awareness, courage, and honesty. No masks, no games. The reunion won't be casual, it won't be small, it won't be fleeting, it will be necessary. Because there are bonds that form on deeper levels, and when that happens, time doesn't separate, it merely postpones. Paths are already aligning. Meetings are being designed by forces that can't be explained. Coincidences will increase. Memories will become clearer. And the heart will begin to feel, even if it doesn't want to. It's pointless to try to rationalize what goes beyond logic. What connects us doesn't need to be explained. It just needs to be acknowledged. Perhaps the message will come in the form of a dream, Maybe it's a name that appears out of nowhere, or in a song, or in that moment when suddenly everything comes rushing back. It doesn't matter how, it will come. And when it does, it will make sense. Everything. Because when there is love, time doesn't destroy it, it shapes. Distance doesn't break. It reveals. And silence doesn't end. It prepares. This reunion won't be a return to a familiar place. It will be a step forward. Because now there's no more room for doubts. What needs to be experienced will be. Not because someone wants it, but because there's no longer a way to avoid it. Love hasn't gone away, it has just been quiet, waiting for the right moment. And now, that moment has arrived. It's not about repeating the same steps. It's about walking with different feet, with a new perspective, with a more complete presence. Now there's no more room for excuses or for self-deception. What has been lived, even amid errors and fears, has left marks that still burn. And where it burns, it still lives. It's not about winning back what was lost. There's nothing left to convince. You either recognize it or you lose it. You either embrace the feeling or you plunge into the void. That same void you pretended to control for so long, but which deep down never stopped bothering you. It's not pride. It's defense. It's the fear of feeling everything again and not knowing what to do with it. But fear no longer has space now, because much was lost trying to protect what could only thrive in vulnerability. So yes, there is still something that insists, something that refuses to die. And this can't be explained, only felt. This something has been knocking at the door for the past few weeks, in the details, in that uncomfortable synchronicity, in that memory that pops up in the middle of the day, in that urge to speak even without knowing what to say. The truth is, even as time passes, nothing has filled that void. Other names have come, other faces, other bodies, but nothing has touched what this connection touched, because it wasn't superficial, because it was real. And everything that is real remains, even if distorted, even if silent. Now it's no longer possible to pretend you don't feel. It's no longer possible to disguise it with distractions or cheap explanations. The feeling is there, whole, waiting for a chance to breathe without fear. It may seem late, but it's not. Time did what it needed to do. It placed each person on their path. It showed in the hardest way everything that needed to be seen, and now with the scars visible, there is clarity. Not of what was, but of what could be moving forward. It might not happen in the idealized way. It might not have an audience, nor promises, nor perfect declarations. But it will happen, because what is being drawn no longer depends on will. It depends on truth. And truth already exists. It's possible that there is still resistance. Natural. Every wounded soul closes up before opening again. But something stronger will push forward, a longing that can no longer fit in silence, a need to resolve what has been suspended, an impulse that can no longer be contained, and when the eyes meet again, no words will be enough. Because everything will be there. In the gestures, in the way of breathing, in the way of looking at each other. It will hurt a little, it will be scary, but it will heal too. Because some stories don't end. They just wait for the moment to continue. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. It doesn't matter how many detours have occurred. What is meant to be lived finds a way to return. And it is returning now, not like before. Without naivety, without excess, without haste, but with depth, with truth, with the weight and lightness that only those who have lost know how to carry. This is the moment when everything is organized, on the inside, on the outside, in feelings, in paths, in what is about to be said, or merely felt. There are no guarantees, there never have been, but there is presence. And where there is presence, everything can begin anew, in the right way at the right time, because loving truly is this, recognizing in the other what has been lost in oneself, and still choosing to stay. Now is the time to stay, and when the reunion happens, it will feel strange at first. Not from a lack of desire, but from an excess of everything. An excess of memories, of suppressed wishes, of words that were never spoken, and now weigh more than ever. The eyes will speak first, and they will convey everything that time has kept. The regret, the longing, the need. Neither will know where to start because there are no manuals for this kind of thing. But it will happen, even with trembling voices, even with racing hearts. The hands may hesitate, the approach may be slow, but the space between the bodies will reveal the truth that has never ceased to exist. There is still something, and there always has been. The only difference is that now no one has to pretend they don't feel it. There will be silence. One of those silences that says more than any long explanation. And it is in this silence that everything will fall into place. The mistakes will lose their power, the fears will diminish, and only what has withstood the test of time and distance will remain. The feeling. It will hurt to remember what could have been, but it will be a relief to realize that it still can be. It will be hard to trust again. But even harder will be pretending that it's not worth trying. The reunion will not erase the scars, but it will give them meaning. Because only those who have experienced loss know how to recognize value. Only those who have lingered in the darkness understand what it means to see the light again. And it's not about returning to where it all began. That would be too small. It's about starting from a place that is more genuine, more aware, more mature. There was a time of distance, and in that time, everything that was unresolved was rubbed against the skin. Not as punishment, but out of urgency. It needed to be understood, reviewed, broken in order to rebuild. And now what comes next is not just any new beginning. It's a silent agreement between two hearts that, even while apart, never stopped communicating. There will be resistance, yes, not because it's unwanted, but because wanting it so much can be frightening. But this time there won't be room for games, nor for pride. Only for giving in. The connection that was put on hold is returning. Denser, more alive, clearer. And everything will be different not because time has passed, but because there is finally an understanding of what truly matters. Now it's not about proving anything. It's not about showing strength. It's about vulnerability. It's about being wholly present, even with flaws, with pain, with the fear of making mistakes again. And if the other person is willing, everything changes. Because all it takes is one sincere response to rebuild what seemed lost. A message, a glance, a simple gesture that says, "I'm still here." Because being there, even after everything, says more than any apology. That's where love reveals its most authentic form, in persistence, in returning, in staying. What comes now doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. And it already is. It's in this space and between what was and what still can be that everything begins to gain a new weight. No more expectations for promises. Time has taught that promising is easy. What matters now is what is done in the details, in the unhurried touch, in the silence that doesn't demand a response, in the presence that doesn't require justification. There will be moments of hesitation, because memory still carries the failures, the gestures that wounded, the words that were missing. But even with all of that, something asserts itself. The need to stay, to try, to rebuild. And it's not rebuilding from scratch. It's using everything that's left, with the scars, with the mistakes, with the lessons. Because what was lived, no matter how difficult, also taught what can never be done again. There is no longer room for half measures, nor for cowardice disguised as doubt. Now you either dive in fully or give up once and for all. But giving up at this point is no longer an option. Something inside recognizes it. It knows this connection was not just anything. It wasn't a distraction. It wasn't a phase. It was real. And all truth demands a genuine chance to be lived. The days following the reunion will be different. There will be no euphoria. There will be silence, reflection, a desire not to err, fear of hurting or of being hurt again. But above all, there will be choice, conscious choice, mature choice, the choice to continue. Perfection is not expected. It's already clear that this doesn't exist, but there is care, and care will now be the foundation of everything. No longer the rush to solve things, but the patience to learn to live with what is real. Old conversations will arise. Those that got stuck in the throat, it will hurt to speak, but it will heal as well. Because holding so much for so long is exhausting. And no one can keep living carrying what needed to be said months, maybe years ago. There will be confessions of failures, of fears, of the times you almost reached out but didn't have the courage, of the moments when you cried alone and pretended it didn't hurt, of the nights when all you wanted was to turn back time. But time doesn't turn back. It only offers another chance, different, raw, more real. And that is what is presenting itself now. Not a return to the past, but a new road, made with pieces of what survived. And what has survived still pulses. It will be necessary to relearn, to trust, to open up, to express what you feel, to stay even on the bad days, mainly on the tough days, because it was in the absence that it became clear how much someone who was truly there was missed. And now all we want is exactly that, presence. No promises, no distant plans, presence, now. And there will come a point when looking to the side and knowing that there's still a chance will be enough. Because love, when it matures, doesn't shout. It breathes, it waits, it sustains. This reunion isn't a happy ending. It's a new beginning, one that only happens when you've been through everything that seemed impossible to overcome. It's the kind of fresh start that isn't planned. It's just lived. Calmly, genuinely, with respect for the pain that was felt and for the story that wants to be reborn. And when this new cycle takes hold, nothing will be as it was before, because now everything carries more weight, more value, more care. What was left open is being sewn together, stitch by stitch, and this time, no one is letting go of the thread. If you felt all this, comment, subscribe, like, and share with those who need to hear it.